right. Well, let's start with a show of hands. Who here has ever let out a swear word in a very embarrassing or inappropriate situation? All right. Like, say, in front of an audience. Maybe a moment that was being recorded. Perhaps a presentation that you've been preparing for months. Don't worry, I'm not going to do it, though I have certainly done so in the past, and clearly so have most of you. Appreciate the honesty. Honestly though, I love swearing, and not just as an activity, but as an incredibly fascinating part of language. Swearing is a beautiful, complex system that has interested me for years now. So, this afternoon, let me give you a brief introduction to the science of swearing and the power of profanity. First of all, I think we all have a decent sense of what swearing or cursing or profanity means, but for this talk, I'm defining it as the use of language that is considered to be taboo in some way, often related to strong emotions. We all swear, and by that I mean we all swear. Swearing is considered to be a universal phenomenon, meaning that in pretty much every language we know of, swearing is present in some form. From culture to culture, we all come up with bad words. This could mean that swearing is a fundamental part of language or how we create it, or at least the natural consequence of being able to communicate with one another. Swearing is universal, but it is also weird. As soon as you start thinking about it at more than just a surface level, you will start finding these little tidbits of how strange and wonderful this part of our language really is. How weird is it that we've invented this part of language that we're specifically not supposed to use? That is one of many questions one might have, and I hope to answer part of it for you today by focusing on the power that swearing has, how it affects us, and how swearing is the language that goes beyond language. So, is swearing a part of language? The obvious answer is yeah, duh. Except there's evidence that in the brain, it is also separated from normal language use. In cases of aphasia, where a person loses their ability to speak or produce language due to brain damage, patients can often still swear quite fluently. And this shows us that there is some separation in the process of normal language and swearing. It's thought to lie in it swearing being a fairly automatic process, something perhaps paralleled by the uncontrolled outbursts of inappropriate language found in Tourette's syndrome. Swearing really goes beyond just language in terms of how it affects us when we hear or use it. Profanity is intimately connected to our emotions. If I ask you to think of a situation that you're likely to swear in, I'm sure most of you are coming up with situations of high emotional intensity. This is reflected in surveys where the majority of swearing is attributed to either anger or frustration. But also humor, sarcasm, surprise, and pain play a role. The difference between and yeah. This single word, from very negative to very positive, can express such a broad range of intense emotions. And these emotions are certainly conveyed. It can be upsetting to hear swear words. Why else would they be banned and bleeped out in all kinds of films and TV shows? And why else would the TEDx operations team have specifically instructed me to avoid these words despite them being the core of my topic here today? And research does show that there is a strong emotional effect from hearing swear words, comparing to other neutral and negative words, to the point where this can be measured in your body. If you are experiencing strong emotions, your skin gets better at conducting electricity because of the activity of some sweat glands. Kind of gross. And the effect, the reaction that we have to hearing profanity is intense enough to be measured in this way in our fingertips. So, the effect of hearing swearing is measurable in our bodies. But the effect of the act of swearing also extends from our minds to our bodies in some very powerful ways. If you're stumbling around in the dark and you hit your little toe on some furniture, or is a pretty classic response. Turns out that that has a purpose. It is a pretty well-established effect that swearing increases our pain tolerance. The classic experiment demonstrating this involves participants sticking their hand into some icy water and measuring how long they could keep it there before the pain got too much. They were allowed to either swear or shout out a neutral word with similar intensity. Now, like any good aspiring scientist would, I tried this out on myself. And in both this self-experimentation, as well as actual controlled scientific studies, it was found that people who were allowed to swear lasted much longer in the experiment and also reported experiencing less pain. This effect has been demonstrated across cultures, including ones with very different attitudes to swearing, really showing just how much power these little short words have over our bodies and our experience of the world. Now, in an ideal world, I'd ramble on about this for another 30 or 40 minutes. However, I did swear that this would be a good TED Talk and not a TED lecture. But in the time that I had, I think I've been able to go through some really cool stuff with you. I've been able to share with you some of the ways in which swearing separates itself from normal language use through the lens of the powerful effects it can have on us. So, how weird is it that we've invented this part of language that we're specifically not supposed to use? Not so weird, when its tabooness is what drives this reaction of shock and emotion that allows us to push through pain, but also show that we are in pain, or at least experiencing some other form of strong emotion that we want to share. I hope I have been able to rouse your interest in this niche little field, and I hope more than anything that the next time you hear someone swear, or when you're the culprit, you think of me, of all the wonderful things I've told you, and take a minute to appreciate the beauty and the complexity in this most powerful way of communicating. Thank you.